everyone, welcome to The Grind. This is where we talk about the sermon that we heard the past weekend. And last weekend, we heard Pastor Ed speak on what does God expect of us. And today, there is Rico and Nathan. And so, yeah, we're talking about the sermon. And I don't know, yeah, it's a good sermon. It definitely challenges us to think about the expectation God places on our lives. And also versus our own expectations that is placed upon our lives as well. I mean, like what Pastor Ed said, that we have there's two sides to our faith in God. There is a relationship to God and our responsibility to others. And he was saying how we have a moral and spiritual responsibility to those in our community. So yeah, expectations is a huge word, you know?
It's got a lot of syllables.
Expectations. It's just four, man.
It's more than enough.
Anyways.
But anyway, yeah, expectations. Like, I mean, we go through life with a lot of expectations from a lot of different sources. I guess one of the biggest ones we have is like expectations from family and parents in particular, because our image of our parents, we can project that as our image of God. So what our parents expect of us, we can often twist a little bit and think that's what God expects of us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what expectations have your family put on you that you've had to sort of handle?
Do better in school. I think that's always.
A's
Yeah, that was constant.
are not good, but A stars are
Be an
preferred.
honor student.
Yeah, be involved in school. Yeah, went off to university in the States. I think my extended family had an expectation that I was not going to end up working as a teacher or at church. So they would be like, this one, go all the way to the States and come back. What is she doing? Because I was the first grandkid to go off to college. So I think they had greater expectations, I guess, for my life.
Apparently even being a teacher wasn't good enough, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Being a teacher wasn't good enough as well. Because that wasn't very it was very not looked on favorably in Malaysia, I guess. And then and then there was this joke that I heard. Asian parents have 5 expectations for their kids. You either be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, or a failure.
Oh, yes, I got 5.
Welcome to a room of failures.
Where we have exceeded our parents' expectations and at least hit one.
The last one, but it's still one.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Still in the list.
Oh man, I'm so glad that God doesn't see us as failures.
Yes.
We do have expectations, so God does place expectations on us. And I think sometimes we place unrealistic expectations. We think like, oh, we have to do this or we have to do that. But really, it's so simple. We have, he just basically expects us to care for the people around us. Like he said, right? Relationship is about our relationship to God. So which is what we do. We want to, draw closer to God and seek Him in all that we do. And then we also have our responsibility to others, basically show care, right? And then Pastor was talking about, one of the ways, basically using the prime example of showing care in the Bible, which was Jesus. Jesus, he showed care. Not only did he preach the word of God, he was also showing that he cared through, healing. And one of the things that Pastor had said that was so good, the message confirms the miracles of God, and the miracles authenticate the message of God. And basically, the word and works of God go hand in hand together. So, and Pastor did spend some time talking a little bit about healing and how Jesus healed the people that came into his path. And so I guess a question for you guys is, what are some situations where you've seen God heal? And how has that transformed? Have you seen that transform people's lives, or how that even transformed you, encourage you?
Well, I think we're very lucky here at ICN that healing and praying for healing is very common. It's one of the main parts of our community. So, we see it quite often, whether it's something as small as like, someone had a sore throat, they got prayed for, now they don't, now they're pain free. Or like if you've been to some of our conferences and stuff and like actually seen someone who can walk who 10 minutes ago couldn't, was in a wheelchair, was on crutches, So it's become, I don't want to say normal, because that sort of takes away from like just how big it is, but we're very lucky in that we see it quite often.
I mean, it's like we see it so often, there is that slight chance that you can become desensitized. Because I just remember seeing your first healing, you're like, oh wow, Jesus healed, this is so awesome. And then eventually down the road, it's like, Jesus healed. I mean, I know I'm so excited, but I know I have fallen into the trap of like, oh, I'm not as excited as before, you know, and it's because it's just become so normal. But you know, the truth of the matter is that I want to be, and I am still excited each time Jesus heals, because that's just something that happens in people's lives. That's an opportunity for people to encounter the goodness of God.
Yeah. And I think what I appreciate as well is that our church actually intentionally does, like, you know, the word of knowledge on a regular basis every week, and you get to see these miracles, and the following week you would hear testimonies of people getting healed and stuff like that. I mean, aside from the encouragement that you get and receive, you also kind of witness also the miracles that Jesus is actually doing on a regular basis. So I think that's one of the great things about it, and something that, I mean, it is normal, but it's not like a very common thing that you would actually see in a regular life basis.
Yeah, because like there have been moments where I pray for people, and then honestly I pray with like not expecting, like not saying that I wasn't expecting them to be healed, but I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pray, right? And then they were like, oh my goodness, I got healed. And I was like, oh my goodness, you got healed, you know? It's like, I got shocked, you know, that they got healed, and they got shocked that it's just basically, oh my, okay, you know? And in those moments, you know, like those, I'm like, it's really not my ability. You know, I'm just being sort of like the conduit, you know, of you know, being just God, like a representation of God's goodness, and just like releasing that over that person. And you know, there have been moments, definitely I pray for people, they don't get healed, and I'm like, may the Lord bless you, you know. And then there's moments where God heals, I'm like, oh wow, that's so good.
And I mean, sometimes also it does get discouraging. Like, for example, when you pray for someone and sometimes they don't get healed. But sometimes it's not about only that person, but maybe that will kind of like go through their family as well. And when you never know that one of the family members, when they see you pray for them, it would give a change of heart for them. You never know. So
seeing change like
exactly.
up close, right?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they probably had like they probably had their expectation of how you're supposed to act, and then suddenly Jesus came, and then you're a completely different person. It's like there's only one thing that can change. And
So,
what you're talking about, words of knowledge, like we have them come up on the screen every week, and
Yeah.
I remember one week I was like laid out all week because I had tonsillitis, and then that Sunday I gone to church because I was slowly getting better, but that Sunday one of the words of knowledge was actually tonsillitis. I don't think we'd ever had it before. I have not seen it maybe since
in a while,
and but it just reminded me like God was still looking out. He still cared, and I
He
was
remembers you.
and then I mean I got better pretty soon after that, but it was just nice to know.
That's nice.
I was
that's
really good.
I mean, and again, for those of you who just joining us and don't know what words of knowledge is basically, we have a team that prays for our services every weekend, and they just feel like a list of conditions that the Lord wants to heal that weekend, and so it just shows up on our screen, and we just pray for healing to happen for those things. So, I mean, with all that being said, right? Like Jesus, he cared. He not only he taught the word, he cared, right? So at the end of the day, we've talked about this, right? It's amazing things that we know, that we've done, that we've been part of, but practically speaking, like how can we make a difference? How can we show that we care?
I think for me, one of the, like, for example, if we're going to be talking about like helping the needy and helping those who are in need, we had this kind of like a program with our pastors, and this one particularly was Pastor Betty, where she asked us to go outside and try to live as if we were like people who are begging and stuff like that. I think this kind of the exercise that we had, we felt we kind of understood, at least to an extent, like how their lives are as well. And through this, we can be able to understand and see, okay, so how are we gonna actually help these people? And it is quite heartbreaking sometimes when you know, like, people would pass by and then they will just as if they would ignore you and stuff like that. And some people would even look at me and say, like, this guy's young, why
is he like
that? But
so did that help you develop some sense of like empathy or
definitely.
compassion for?
And now whenever I see, when I pass by and see, I try to give as much as I can, and of course make sure to be wise about it. Like, we can hear things that sometimes is a scam
or it's just like people just being in places, but
Well, I mean, like if we're talking about the example of Jesus, right? Then, because Pastor Ed said something really good about how he had compassion for people, but he took it a step further in that he, as a person, as a human being, he took a personal interest in the needs of the poor. So, sure, having compassion is great. Feeling for people who are in need is great, but taking that extra step and doing something is better. So, like, even just like you're doing, like you see someone, you give a little bit, like what you can, something. It may not seem like much, but it is still something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also like Pastor talks about how Jesus had a personal fund, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I actually never really paid attention to that part of scripture. Like Jesus actually establishing a separate fund for.
So it was clearly really important to him.
Yeah.
Like it's very intentional and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's good. Definitely, this series I believe is going to really challenge us to really think outside the box and just see like where we can impact people, not just in Hong Kong, but wherever you're at. You know, maybe you're watching it, you're tuning in today from a different place. You know, that there are needs in our community, whether it be helping the needy or just even small things at church as well. Church is part of, or just NGOs. You know, so I just want to encourage you to wherever you're at, you know, look for ways that you can make a difference. In the small ways that you can. You never know that, like, again, I love what Pastor Betty said, that when you do something in the practical, God can make something spiritual happen. So it's, again, not our responsibility to try to make things happen. It's our responsibility to be part of it, to move with God, like what Pastor Betty said, to move with God, and it's God's responsibility to just come through and, you know, move it. Like it's all Him. You know, it's really all Him. So Anyways.
So I guess, you know, like like we were talking today, we keep saying that we need to practice this, and what Jesus has been doing is he authenticates the word through his actions, and we hope that today you've learned something, and we would like to encourage you also to try and help as much as you can. And if you need help from us to kind of find places where you can reach out and encourage other people, then you can leave us a message in the message box.
Comments.
Comments
below,
let us know,
and
we'll get in touch. Like if you're looking to serve, we'll get in touch and look for a place for you to be able to make a difference.
So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.